Welcome to Empower Her Radio, the space for powerhouse women ready to step into their next level of abundance, purpose, and personal freedom. I'm Dr. Corey Winn, a high performance coach, doctor of physical therapy, philanthropist, and business consultant. I help ambitious women align with their highest calling, expand their wealth and impact, and create a life that feels as good as it looks. If you're a high achieving woman who's built success yet finds yourself craving more alignment, more purpose, more ease, you're in the right place. Here, we bridge the gap between ambition and fulfillment. Through transformative conversations and proven strategies, you'll gain the courage to step into the fullest expression of you. Build a powerhouse business that aligns with your expertise and divine gifts, and lead your life, both personally and professionally, with unshakable confidence, worthiness, and compassion. This is about expansion, legacy, and owning your power unapologetically. You already have everything inside of you to create a life of unlimited possibility. It's time to unlock it. Welcome to your next level. Let's dive in. Hey friend, it's Dr. Corey Winn. And before we begin today's powerful episode, I want to pause for a moment. What you're about to hear is an incredibly powerful and deeply personal story, but it also contains graphic and detailed descriptions of a violent home invasion, self-defense, and its aftermath. Please take care of yourself as you listen. If you've experienced trauma or you're in a sensitive season, this episode may feel activating. You can always press pause, come back when you're grounded, or go back to a previous episode from earlier this season. This space is about honoring your nervous system, your boundaries, and your healing pace. If at any point you need support, you can reach out to the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline here in the US, 911 for police, fire, or rescue, or connect with a trusted therapist or friend. Now, with that care and context, let's begin this courageous conversation with Tennyson Jacobson. Today's guest is a woman whose story will stop you in your tracks. After surviving a nationally reported violent home invasion, Tennyson Jacobson didn't just rebuild her life. She redefined what healing, courage, and intuition really mean. Her journey is raw, real, and radically honest. Tennyson shows us that trauma isn't only the big moments, it's also the subtle ways we abandon ourselves in pursuit of success. And when we learn to listen to the quiet voice within, everything changes. Tennyson, I'm incredibly honored to have you on the show today.
Oh, thank you. I'm honored to be here.
So take us back to that moment. You lived through something that people really can't imagine and have come through it to the other side. So can you take us back to that moment and how it has kind of been the catalyst to bring you to who you are today?
Yeah. Woo, it's a loaded question. I feel like I'm this wrecking ball that comes in if people don't know my story. And then when I start a podcast, they're like, wait, what are we talking about? So
Uh-huh.
I feel the urge right now to share, like, it's a pretty shocking story. And so if there's like kids around, maybe that's not the best thing, time for later. And it can trigger some people, but, yeah, so what my story is it was my first Mother's Day of 2013. 26 years old. My daughter's 8 months old at the time, and my husband and I were building our home. And so to save money to build our home, we were living with my mom, which was my childhood home. And this is really safe neighborhood. Frankly, we lost our keys along the way. And so never locked our house, didn't worry about it. And so it's Mother's Day, it's Sunday. We owned a CrossFit gym, my husband and I at the time. And he left to go train with our gym. We had a really strong CrossFit team, and they almost always made it to the CrossFit Games, which is like the Olympics of CrossFit.
That's
Um,
amazing.
yeah, and it was pretty amazing. And so he was the team captain. He had to practice on that Sunday, and so we had just gotten home from being out of town for a few days. He packs up, he leaves, and so I'm just kind of picking up around the house from getting home. And the house I grew up in, it's like all these windows in the front of the house, and then the front door is actually at the back of the house, and so there's these big glass doors. And again, we lived on the outskirts of town and in a very safe, small neighborhood. And so we really didn't ever have strangers coming up to our front door. And so I'm picking up in the kitchen where I can kind of see out of the corner of my eye somebody approaching the front door. And immediately my mind was, well, this is odd. Like nobody ever comes around. And it's
Hmm.
Sunday. And not
Right.
only Sunday, it's Mother's Day. And so I start walking to the front door to greet the visitor, and I immediately realize this is not this is not a visitor. He's not stopping. He's gonna walk right in. And he did. He busted right in. My immediate reaction was to run towards my daughter. She was sitting on the floor playing with her toys, and so I ran towards her, but he got to me before I got to her, grabbed me by the ponytail. He bent me over the couch, covered my mouth, and said, I won't hurt you. I just want money. Um, and all the terrifying thoughts are going through my head of, and he smelled so bad. And his energy was what was the scariest of most. Like he did not seem of this world. He didn't seem frantic. There was something really, really off about him. And so, kind of long story short of that situation, I had money. I never have money, which is crazy. But somebody paid me a hoodie for a hoodie at our gym, and I had $41 cash. And so that was in my purse by the front door. So he walked me there. He lets go of me once I finally give him the money, and then he like stared at me, and his eyes were just like black, like not you are not of this world. And then he smacked me super hard. I fell down. And then he walked. He didn't even run. He just walked right out and left. And so that started an initial investigation of, I called the cops. My husband comes home. They're looking for him. They send dogs out. I think even like a helicopter looking for this guy. Can't find him anywhere. And while the cops are there, I had this feeling like he's coming back. I know he's coming back. It was this knowing it wasn't frantic, it wasn't anything. And it took all this courage within me to say, like, hey, I think he's coming back because all these cops are just like, yeah, he's probably homeless, probably just breaking in, just wants money. I'm like, I, there were so many details that I didn't even share that just happened that were like, no, that led to me, I think, feeling that. And so after a few hours, they don't find him. We go to bed. It's Mother's Day. I mean, that in itself, completely traumatizing.
Oh, yeah.
Being attacked in your own home, which is your safe place. And so I tried to like put on a face to like enjoy the rest of Mother's Day. We go out to dinner. Like I'm just, even in the restaurant, I'm completely like on fight mode. Like, where is this guy? They hadn't found him to go to the bathroom. I write about this in the book. Like, just all the little things you don't even think about once you've been attacked, and how that impacts you. So we try to get through Mother's Day, and then going to bed that night, I was like, well, I'm not going to sleep. Like this person just broke into my home. I feel like he's coming back. But every cop was like, they never come back. In 30 years of experience, they've never come back. So it's basically kind of felt like, you're wrong. Sorry, they never come back.
Right.
And so we had two little dogs that always slept with us, little Yorkies, and they always got up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom. And so I usually take them out, with my husband being a firefighter and his sleep schedule just sucks. And so they woke up at about 1:30, and I uh, woke up my husband. I'm like, can you please take out the dogs? And our home defense was we slept with a can of wasp spray on one side of the bed and a bat on the other, which is actually crazy to think of us having those things. And so I told my husband, I'm like, take the bat. And he was like, I trust the professionals. This guy's not coming back. He went to bed like no problem at all, which is kind of annoying. And so He grabs the wasp spray, which is on his side, and just to probably appease me so I don't keep bugging him. And he walks out with the dogs. And then, within like 15 seconds, they come running back into me, like burrow themselves into me, and they're like shaky and scared. I'm like, this is weird. And then so soon after, I hear this rustling in the hall, and I immediately know that he is actually back. And so I jump out of bed, I grab the bat, I run out there. And it led to this fight for our lives. He had immediately attacked my husband Kyle. Kyle was completely cut off guard. He tries to spray this wasp spray at the guy, completely shocked that this guy is actually in our house, and that just pisses the guy off more. They wrestle. And to give context to my husband, like again, we owned a CrossFit gym. He's the team captain. He's, one of the stronger people of our gym. He's a firefighter, so he has years of experience, like, facing trauma. So it enabled him to remain calm. And he was a wrestler in high school and he coached wrestling after. And so, like, he was the guy you would want in this situation to protect you.
Right.
And so he's wrestling this guy, and all these things happen, which are not stopping him. I mean, I ended up breaking this bat on this guy's back, which completely shocked me. I sprayed wasp spray right in his eye, like point blank for what felt like minutes. And he's just animalistic, not stopping. And eventually, my husband, which I've never heard him say this in my life, said, Tenny, I need help. And the way he said it, um, just was like this light switch that went off in my body that was like, something drastic needs to change here to stop. And so the only thing I could think of was a kitchen knife. And I went to the kitchen. I grabbed both. We had two big kitchen knives. One sucked. One was a really good one. I made sure I grabbed the good one, and I came back and ended up stabbing the intruder 9 times and killed him. um, so yeah, and my mom had run out during the middle of it when I was in the kitchen. She had heard me screaming. I was dropping F-bombs, which I don't usually use that word. And so, and nor scream in the middle of the night. So she ran out. She grabbed the broken bat. She was trying to hit this guy in the balls. And so she's on the phone with 911 as I'm actually stabbing him. And so, eventually cops come, didn't even realize we were arrested for murder, but technically were. And so that, yeah, that night became absolutely insane. And so I'd say the first, everything was dropped. I don't even know what the official like term is in like legal jargon, but our detective was absolutely incredible. She just basically said, I mean, the evidence was like, there's no denying that this was home defense. And so we had to like be read our rights and give our statements that we never went to court. So everything just kind of slowly went away, and that's a huge thanks to her. I can't even imagine dealing with that part. But the immediate trauma that you face, and I don't know if, I mean, PTSD that comes with that, completely, um, yeah, my husband and I were just, I don't even know the right word to say. It just completely changed us, flipped our world upside down. um, every single, like we couldn't even go to the bank alone. Walking down the hall to now, so we moved from my mom's house to now my in-laws' house because there's obviously no way we're staying there. And walking to from the like living room to the bathroom where I have to pass a closet door and another door, like chills up my body, thinking somebody's going to jump out and attack me. We moved our mattress into my in-laws' bedroom and literally slept there for 3 months. And we're not big cuddlers, but like just clung on to each other, like so terrified, and trying to sleep, every single little noise you hear, you just overanalyze, your body's in complete fight mode. And so it was several years of working through that and being completely traumatized.
Yeah.
Uh, and eventually, like, 5 years from the event, I was like, okay, like, I had a lot of anxiety. I had nightmares and all these things, but I'm like, I guess this is what life looks like, after we go through this. And then I was interviewed by somebody, his name is Tony Blauer. He's a self-defense like guru. He's amazing, internationally known, and we met him through the CrossFit community. And so he interviewed me on his podcast, probably thinking he was going to get this like confident like woman that like I've worked through this. And I still had so many triggers and like issues I didn't even fully realize. And so at the end of the call, he was like, "Hey, Tenny, can I like connect you to this amazing therapist I know? He might be able to like, help you through some things." And I was like, "Okay, yeah, anybody you want to connect me to, I'll talk to."
Mhm.
And I had been in a lot of therapy those first 5 years, trying so many different things, and facing some really low lows after all of that. But obviously still had some issues. And so once I connect to this therapist, I mean, within 5 minutes, I was like, oh my gosh, like, um, I felt it was the first time I felt truly seen, like not just for the challenges I was still working through, but he saw these other parts and sides of me, things like people pleasing and high achieving and perfect, like, and obviously we didn't work through all that in the first 5 minutes, but he was picking up on so much of these other layers of me. And so that led to this just incredible journey of therapy with him to help like learn about my nervous system, which I had never been taught about prior,
Yeah.
which is shocking given what we had gone through and how many people I've talked to. So he talked to me about the nervous system. We worked on that. And then as my body started to feel safer and I started to work through some of those things after a couple years, these other layers of my childhood and being a twin and like all these other things and parts about me that were truly holding me back from being the most authentic version of myself and owning that. And so we started to work on that and has been just the most rewarding and beautiful, amazing experience. And not just in therapy, like that led me to open this door of curiosity into healers and other things to explore to um, yeah, to really, I think, step into my unique purpose. And I always felt like our story, um, there was a purpose to it, and there's a reason why this happened in my life. I just didn't understand or know why. And I always doubted, like, who am I? Like, I don't know.
Right.
But I could feel that nudge, like, no, there is something here. And so then it just became this whole process of truly trying to learn to trust my intuition and follow that and see where that leads me. So a lot of talking I just did, but here's the recap.
No, but I first off want to honor you for everything that you've been through and having come out on the other side and continuing to advocate for yourself that you wanted to get to the other side.
Mhm.
And you truly obviously were the victim of something horrible that was completely traumatizing. And then to also see you now having gotten through and pushing other women to advocate for themselves and reclaim
Mhm.
their identities and live in authenticity and be the truest version of themselves. I mean, that's everything that we talk about on Empower Her Radio.
Mhm.
And I just am so thankful for you willing to be vulnerable and share your story because there are so many out there who have been through incredibly traumatic things and may still feel broken or may still feel like I haven't figured out how to get through this yet. So to hear you having gone through something so significant and be able to be on the other side of it now is really powerful and inspiring to me, but also I know very inspiring to all of our listeners.
Mhm. Thank you so much. And I still don't even feel like I'm totally on the other side of it. Like I still, like, of course, life continues to happen and new things enter, and still working through so much too. But yes, on the path and committed to just living the most fulfilling version of this life. That's what I want for every single person, is to find and express their unique gifts because that's what our world needs. And especially women, of course, are, we get conditioned with all these things in our life to hold us back from that. And so that is what I'm so passionate to go within and also connect with mentors and other people to figure out how do I work through that so I can live this most amazing, fulfilling life possible.
Absolutely. Well, and so much of what you said to people pleasing, perfectionism, living for somebody else, all these layers that you uncovered, so many women also relate in those spaces. Can
Mhm.
you speak a little bit to like what you uncovered that maybe was the most surprising for you in this journey?
Mm. Yeah. So, um, kind of side note, like I'm a twin, and we're fraternal and we look totally different. And I knew, and very different personalities. And I love and adore my sister, but I write about this in my book, just sharing, some pieces of that. But we operated very differently. And my mom even said, like, in the womb, I feel like you were over here doing one thing and she was over here doing the other thing. And so as I started to work on and what my therapist did with me, which I think is probably one of my favorite therapies, modalities, is IFS, internal family systems, and parts work, which I know is similar to inner child and whatnot. But it's essentially we have these parts of us. So the perfectionist part, the high achiever part, the people pleasing part. And so I started to first become aware of like those parts. And then when you dive into, well, where are these parts coming from? They're just trying to protect me. What's behind that? So much of my history with my sister was coming up. I naturally really wanted to do well in school. Naturally, music was a huge thing for me. And I always wanted to excel. And Jessie she was a little bit more of a rebel. She wasn't into that stuff and she kind of pushed the limits. And so I started to really learn, like, I really learned to dim my light so that I didn't impact my sister or hurt my sister. And I write about like even like when I'd achieve something with school or an award, like the way I was kind of congratulated about it in my home was my mom would say, I'm so proud of you. Like, it would be more quiet. And I know, like, if my mom listens to this, it's going to kill her, but I love her and I totally understand why she was doing it. But I kind of learned to, like, oh, like me getting praise, like, we need to kind of, quiet that down. And so, and then even just getting good grades, the perfect, like, or being the caretaker in my family, that kept the peace in the family. And so those were parts of me that I could now see as an adult, or I don't want to say controlling, but like they were kind of controlling how I operate.
Mhm.
I own an insurance agency now, and I could start to see like in my office, like if I didn't write the perfect response back, and I'm a pretty like, I do like I'm a pretty fine writer, like typing an email. But like I send it and I'm like, oh my gosh, I said like sorry two times instead of one, or whatever it was. And I beat myself up. And so I was holding myself to these like crazy standards that like nobody else is doing that.
Right.
And so I started to really, I think that was probably the most surprising to me and also the most freeing. And I'm still a work in progress on that because one thing that even with writing my memoir and being so vulnerable, there's parts of it that like don't always land with other people, like where I go to Sedona and meet with healers. Like some people are really not into that. And people who are close to me. And that is really hard for me um to that doesn't just fall off my shoulders. And so those are still parts of me that I'm working on in expressing myself. Um, that, it's not going to land with everybody, but the people who it lands with, that those are my people.
Oh,
Um,
100%.
yeah.
And I think that I want our audience to really hear that too, because not every person is our person.
Hmm.
And I so resonate with everything that you said. So much of my life, perfect this and, you know, fall in line and don't be too big or too bold or too loud. And investing in myself and
Hmm.
working through my own coaching and then coaching other women, stepping into the fullest expression of yourself is the most empowering thing that you can do because it is the most aligned
Hmm.
thing that you can do. And
Hmm.
ultimately, if you can get back to trusting yourself and moving forward through your own intuition,
Hmm.
everything else follows that.
Hmm.
And I think that so many women on this show can relate to being a people pleaser or perfectionism or having to toe a line
Hmm.
because of one thing or the other, whether it's volatility in their family, their work life, anything. And I, knowing the trauma that you went through, there may be listeners, it's like, oh, well, I feel like that, but I didn't go through something like that. So there must be something wrong with me. I want to be incredibly clear that trauma spans so many things, and you don't have to have gone through something horrific to also have these same tendencies. Like you
Hmm.
said, they're all parts of us, and we can
Hmm.
work through some of them, embrace some of them, let others of them go. And first and foremost, I hear you giving yourself grace through
Hmm.
all parts of it. And I
Hmm.
think so many of us want to hurry up and get back to whoever we were, hurry up and get through. And taking the years that you've taken
Hmm.
and the work that you've invested in yourself, I hope that encourages our listeners too to not give up, you know,
Hmm.
not just settle for, well, I guess this is how life is going to be, like you
Hmm.
thought from the beginning. Um, and know
Yeah.
too, giving yourself grace also allows you to say, oh, okay, that triggered me. Let's look into that a little deeper and figure out the root cause of this.
Yeah. And that was really hard for me to give myself grace. Because I was so hard on myself to like, and people say messages like time heals, like, or, like, or they don't truly understand. And so even like we are our own worst people in our heads, like, and so it was a lot of work to eventually, and that's what I love so much about parts work. Is the thought there is like, there's really no negative emotion. Like, take for example, anger. Um, I never really allowed myself to be angry like that. Like, why would you be angry? Like, that's not good. And when I finally started working through some things with my therapist, he would like light up when I would get frustrated and angry. He was like, yes, like, of course you can be angry. Like, why would you not be angry about X, Y, or Z? Like, do you think that's valid? And I'd be like, yeah, that actually is very valid that I should feel anger towards that. And so it's meeting that part of you that feels something and like then showing it compassion and listening to it. And so that was such a game changer, I think, in learning how to give myself grace and compassion versus beating myself up. And when you're talking about the like trauma comparison, I love that you said that because, and I write that in my book, like there's no yardstick to measure trauma. Like I'm frequently comparing myself to other people that have gone through so much worse than I am or I have. But in the book, like I share, it's just all story. I'm not a trauma expert. This is all just personal story. And I think where people are I mean, so many different types of people are connecting with it because the root of those experiences and those stories it's universal. sometimes the hopelessness, the frustration, the anger, the
Right.
sadness, the pain. Like we all feel that. And I, this is coming to mind, I'm just going to share it, but like when you're trying to come up with the title for my book, so the title is The Mother of All Days, and then there's a subtitle. And I have a good friend of mine who's an intuitive, and like I was telling, she always makes this joke because we went to coffee one time, and I was talking about like comparing what I went through to like somebody who gets acne. Like like I cannot imagine going through acne, how some people do, and like how that impacts them. And she's like, Tenny, what you went through to I'm like, yes, it's the same. Like there's so many similar things. And so we're joking about the subtitle being from acne to, murder. Um, but my point in all of that is we literally all experience it because the root of those emotions and feelings are the same.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's just so important to recognize that. And from the other side, if you have gone something through something horrific, also have grace and compassion for people who it may seem smaller to you, but for them it's huge, just like the
Hmm.
acne. Would
Yeah.
you say that your idea of success has changed throughout all of this? What you may have thought of was successful prior to this, and then through all the work that you've done, how you might look at it now?
Ooh, what a cool question. When I was growing up, my parents owned a business and it was very stressful, but I was very much taught the message like you can be anything that you want to be. And I have believed that with all my heart, like for my whole life. And I guess I thought most people felt that way, and I'm realizing how much people don't believe that because
Right.
obviously they were taught different messages. And so that's when I think of the biggest things. I'm so grateful for the message I learned. But like, um, so I saw my mom as a successful business. And I had this feeling, and I remember my husband and I, like, he's my first and only boyfriend. We met when I was a senior in high school. And I remember like several, I don't know, maybe we were close to getting married, and remember being like, things are going to work out really good. I had like just this overall vision. Like I've never been like, I want a mansion, I want millions of dollars, like whatever that is. I wanted a happy, fulfilled, like, and I guess successful to me would have been honestly love, like that type of a life. And so my direction before this was like creating a business, and we had our gym and thinking that that would lead to something. Well, then we pivoted, and now I somehow own an insurance agency, which I have. I mean, I think I've quadrupled it since I started it 7 years ago, and so that's become successful. And but then I don't know, this is also cliche and cheesy, but like, yeah, I'd say once you really work through something like I have, and then the after journey of all the inner work, you just realize how much you want peace and happiness, abundance in all forms, love. I want the ability to travel and see our world and just connect to like the beauty of this planet. And so, yeah, so it's shifted. But I think there always has been this overwhelming hope for um, creating a life that I love so much and have so much gratitude for.
I love that. I want to be super respectful of your time and give you a chance to talk about anything that we haven't talked about, and also let our listeners know how to get your book, how to connect with you, how to follow you, and just hear more about your journey and how you've gotten to where you are.
Thank you. Yeah. And I love talking to you. So I feel like I could just talk forever with you. What's coming to mind is just something tied to our story. Because, I had so many people say to both my husband and I, like, you guys are so brave for what you did. Like, that's actually a rare, percentage of people that would do what you did. And what I have learned, and what I hope your listeners take away, is the moments that I have felt the most brave are the smallest moments nobody else sees and nobody has any idea that you're doing. It's the moment where I'm laying in bed, my husband's back at work and gone at the fire station, and all I want to do is get up and check the locks.
Mhm.
But I work through it and I lay there, even as terrified as I am to do that. Or it's picking up the phone to call somebody who might have hurt me, or it's, it's those such little moments that have shifted my life so much, and that I am truly the most proud of myself for. And so I just want to speak into encouraging, your listeners, that those are the most important things. And I think, like, it's all about intuition, right? And that nudge, and it always feels scary.
Yeah.
Right? And so, but if you have that nudge, I have so learned that that is something that is leading you to something. And so even just taking the smallest step, or inviting somebody who you trust and feel safe with to help you walk through that. So I just add that. And I hope with, the book, I've done a lot of podcast interviews, and I realize, like, not too many people end up actually buying the book after the interview. And I always reflect and think, like, did I share the whole story? Like, whatnot. And so what's coming to mind there is just like, the book is not about the event. Yes, it is a critical part of the story because it became this catalyst for this journey. But by like a quarter of the way through the book, like, you've gone through those experiences, those break-ins. And so much of it is the after journey and the challenges and the thoughts that pop in my head and all of that. And that's where I find people really connect with those stories. And so, yeah, you can find, I mean, my book is on Amazon, probably the easiest way to get it, and then my Instagram is Tennyson Jacobson. So that's probably the easiest way to follow along. And, yeah.
Love that. Well, and I think too, what I'm hearing you say is to celebrate even the smallest courageous events. So, give yourself grace and also be incredibly proud of yourself in
Hmm.
every moment and everything that you do. So,
Hmm.
thank you so much for being on the show today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. What a pleasure.
As we close out today's episode, I want to leave you with this. Your next level is already within you. If you're feeling that pull for more clarity, more alignment, and more courage to step fully into who you're meant to be, this is your invitation to take the next step. Whether you're an entrepreneur ready to scale or a woman standing at the edge of something bigger, the path forward starts with trusting your desires, owning your worth, and leading with your inner knowing. This is exactly what I offer: private VIP coaching, and where I guide women inside the 10K Club and 50K Club through consulting with She Sells and Superhuman Selling to help you gain clarity, step into aligned action, and build a life and business that reflects your highest vision. If you're ready to explore what's next, let's have a conversation. Book a free call now at www.corywinn.com/free call. I can't wait to connect with you. Talk soon.